The cold steel of the bench dug into Ethan's back as he leaned against the wall of the holding cell. His head throbbed from the drinks. But the real pain sat heavier: shame. One bad decision, one night behind the wheel. Drunk and reckless. Now here he was, in a cell that reeked of urine and despair, watching the last threads of his life unravel. He had called everyone he could think of. Voicemails. Disconnections. No one was coming. "You're looking at a $2 bail," the officer muttered, not unkindly, but with no room for sympathy. Ethan nodded numbly. He didn't have $200, let alone $2,000. His credit was shot. His job interview tomorrow was now a lost cause. And he hadn't spoken to his mother since coming out years ago. "I really screwed up," he whispered to no one. He closed his eyes, heart pounding in the silence. Every second ticked louder than the last. The only future he could see was bleak. Then came the sound of keys and the rattle of the cell door. He didn't bother to look up, probably just another poor soul thrown in. But then, a voice. "You're free to go." Ethan blinked. "What? How?" The officer stepped aside, and in the doorway stood a man in a dark, tailored suit. Lucas, the bully from high school. The guy who made Ethan's teenage years a nightmare. What the hell was he doing here? Ethan stepped through the precinct doors, the stale city air hitting him like a slap. The silence between him and Lucas was deafening. He followed a few steps behind, half expecting someone to yell, "Just kidding, you're going back in." But the SUV parked at the curb was definitely real. Shiny, black, expensive. Lucas opened the passenger door like a gentleman. Ethan hesitated. "Why are you doing this?" Lucas didn't answer right away. He waited until Ethan was seated and the doors were shut. "You reek of bad choices," Lucas said flatly as he started the engine. "You're lucky I showed up when I did." That smug voice, it hadn't changed, still carried the sharpness Ethan remembered from high school. But now, it came out deeper, calmer, less cruel, more composed. Ethan folded his arms. "You didn't answer my question." Lucas glanced sideways. "I was at the bar. Saw you leave. Figured something bad would happen." Ethan frowned. "Wait, you were the guy in the corner booth?" Lucas gave a half shrug. "You were drunk out of your mind. The bartender called me when you didn't come back." That stopped Ethan cold. "Why would he call you?" "We've done some business together. I left my number in case something happened. Looks like I was right to do it." Ethan stared out the window. None of this made sense. Lucas wasn't supposed to be this put together, or this concerned. "Look," Ethan muttered, "I don't know what this is, but I'm not giving you anything in return. I'll pay you back. Just don't expect anything else." Lucas chuckled, not taking his eyes off the road. "Calm down. Nobody's asking for your body, princess." Ethan flushed. "Don't call me that." Lucas smirked. "Sorry. Force of habit." They pulled into the driveway of Ethan's small, rundown apartment complex. Lucas parked but didn't get out. "You always this reckless?" he asked, voice suddenly softer. Ethan turned to face him. "Not usually. I had a rough week. Breakup. Job interview tomorrow. Not that it matters now." Lucas studied him for a long beat, then nodded. "You don't owe me anything. But maybe consider letting someone help you for once." Ethan scoffed. "Since when do you help anyone?" Lucas leaned back in the seat. "Since I realized I was an asshole in high school. People change." Ethan opened the door, pausing before stepping out. "Not always." Lucas reached into the glove box and pulled out a business card. "In case you need anything. Plumbing, maintenance, whatever. I manage properties now." Ethan took it reluctantly, reading the name. Lucas Haynes, property manager. He looked back at the man in the driver's seat. Older, sharper, confident. The past screamed, bully. But the present felt different. "Thanks," Ethan muttered, stepping out. Lucas gave him a faint nod before driving off. Ethan stood there for a moment, card in hand, heart pounding in ways he didn't understand. Ethan didn't expect to see Lucas again, at least not so soon. 3 days after being bailed out, Ethan walked into the leasing office of his apartment complex, hoping to put in a maintenance request. His shower had started leaking and the window in the bedroom wouldn't close all the way. Typical. The building was falling apart, and the rent was barely manageable even with the new job he'd miraculously kept. The receptionist smiled brightly as she handed him a clipboard. "Actually, our new manager prefers to handle things directly," she said. Ethan blinked. "New manager?" "Yeah, Just started this week. Let me go grab him. She disappeared into the back. Ethan waited, impatient, tired, still shaken from everything. And then he heard it. That voice. Ethan? He turned, and there he was. Lucas Haynes, dressed in a tailored ash-gray suit, looking infuriatingly calm and dangerously good. His sleeves were rolled up just enough to show the veins in his forearms. And his expression was unreadable. "You've got to be kidding me," Ethan muttered. Lucas stepped forward, clipboard in hand. "Didn't expect to see me again so soon." "Huh?" Ethan narrowed his eyes. "Let me guess, total coincidence?" Lucas chuckled. "Actually, yeah, I got this job before I even saw you at the bar. I've been managing a few complexes across town. Carson, the old manager, was swamped, so they asked me to take over this one." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Right." The receptionist reappeared, immediately picking up on the tension. "I'll just check on the pest control guys." Once she was gone, Lucas leaned in slightly. "I'm not stalking you, if that's what you're thinking." "I'm not thinking anything," Ethan lied. Lucas looked him over, and Ethan hated how self-conscious it made him feel. "You're still stubborn, huh? And you're still annoying." Lucas smirked. "Look, I'll handle your maintenance requests. I've done this kind of work for years, even before getting into management. So if your shower's busted, I'll fix it myself." Ethan opened his mouth to protest but stopped. He needed the shower fixed. And deep down, part of him was curious, dangerously curious. "Fine," he said, turning away. "Just don't flirt with me while you're holding a wrench." Lucas laughed under his breath. "No promises." Ethan walked back to his apartment, heart pounding faster than he wanted to admit. The man who'd once made his life hell was now fixing his plumbing, and maybe something more. Lucas showed up the next afternoon, toolbox in hand, dressed more casually than Ethan had ever seen him. Black slacks, fitted just a little too well, and a navy t-shirt that hugged his chest like it had been tailored. Ethan cursed himself for noticing. "Where's the leak?" Lucas asked, stepping inside like he owned the place. Ethan motioned toward the bathroom, keeping his distance. "Shower. And don't act like this is some social call." Lucas raised a brow. "Wouldn't dream of it." He set to work immediately. Sleeves rolled up, muscles flexing every time he twisted a valve or adjusted a pipe. Ethan found himself standing in the hallway, arms crossed, trying not to stare, but it was impossible not to. There was something frustratingly magnetic about Lucas, like a bad idea dressed as a Greek god. "Pass me the flashlight?" Lucas asked without looking up. Ethan handed it over silently, their fingers brushing for half a second. Still quiet. Lucas muttered, "You used to have more to say. Usually insults." Ethan rolled his eyes. "Yeah, well, you used to give me a reason." Lucas turned to face him, crouched low, his expression unreadable. "I didn't pick on you because I hated you. You know." Ethan laughed, bitter and sharp. "Don't even start with that. I teased you because I liked you. Crap. That's not an excuse." Lucas stood, wiping his hands on a towel. "I know. I'm not excusing it. But I was a different person back then. Scared, stupid, hiding behind cruelty because I didn't know how to deal with what I felt." Ethan looked away. His heart thudded in his chest. "I always knew you were brave." Lucas continued, voice lower now. "You were out, open, yourself. I admired that. Hated myself for not being able to do the same." Silence stretched between them, thick with history. Ethan finally met his gaze. "Is that what this is? Some guilt trip? A redemption arc?" Lucas sighed. "No, I'm not asking you to forgive the past. I'm just hoping we can start from here." Before Ethan could respond, a loud knock hit the door. It was Pierre, the complex's longtime maintenance guy. "Hey, Lucas. Got a call about some busted lights in 3B. You done here?" Lucas nodded, just finishing up. As Pierre left, Lucas turned back to Ethan. "I'll come by tomorrow to double-check everything." "You don't have to," Ethan said, voice quieter than before. "I want to." Lucas paused at the door. "And Ethan, if you ever want to talk, really talk, I'll listen this time." Then he was gone. Ethan closed the door behind him, leaning back against it. His mind was spinning. The leak was fixed, but everything else? Still broken. And maybe, just maybe, beginning to shift. Ethan's phone buzzed just as he stepped out of the shower. Notice. Immediate concern with apartment unit. See management office. He frowned, towel still draped over his shoulders. That couldn't be good. Throwing on clothes. He He headed downstairs, heart pounding with unease. Maybe it was a routine inspection. Maybe it was nothing, but something about the wording felt off. He opened the door to the leasing office just in time to hear Lucas's voice, firm. Frustrated. I know him personally. I don't believe he'd do something like that. There was a pause. Another voice, low and muffled, said something Ethan couldn't make out. Lucas again. No, I'll handle it, but if this turns out to be true. Ethan's chest tightened. He stepped inside. Lucas turned, startled. Ethan, I didn't hear you. What's going on? Ethan asked, eyes narrowing. What are you handling exactly? Lucas didn't answer immediately. He looked conflicted. Someone filed a report, said your unit's been the source of multiple maintenance issues. And strange odors. Pierre also said he found something suspicious in your kitchen cabinet. Ethan stared, dumbfounded. What kind of suspicious? Lucas reached into a drawer and held up a small, orange pill bottle. This. Ethan stepped back. That's not mine. Lucas gave a hard look. It was in your unit. I don't care. It's not mine. Ethan snapped, heat rising in his face. What are you doing, Lucas? You think I'd sabotage my own apartment? Sell drugs? I didn't say that. You didn't have to. Ethan cut in. You know what? This was a mistake. Thinking you'd change. Thinking you actually cared. Lucas opened his mouth to respond, but Ethan was already out the door. He stormed back to his apartment, slamming the door behind him. His hands shook as he paced, heart racing. The damn dishwasher was still broken. The shower still leaked despite the fix. And now this? He collapsed onto the couch, staring blankly at the wall. Was someone setting him up? No, who would even bother? Then a memory flickered. Carson, the previous building manager. Ethan had once caught him taking cash under the table from a sketchy tenant. And he'd made a comment about snitches getting what they deserve. Could it be? Ethan stood abruptly. He tore through the drawers of his kitchen, through papers and documents, until he found an old envelope with Carson's name scribbled in the corner. Inside were printed maintenance logs and handwritten notes, notes about unit inspections. Notes about his unit, dates that didn't match any time he'd actually been home. His eyes widened. Carson had been in his apartment, repeatedly, even after getting demoted. Ethan's throat tightened. This wasn't just bad luck. He was being framed. Ethan didn't sleep that night. The crumpled papers sat on his kitchen table, maintenance logs, landlord notes, and bits of scribbled reminders that Carson had, without a doubt, entered his apartment more times than Ethan ever authorized. He didn't know what the man had planted or moved, but it was enough to ruin him. He needed proof, more than just papers, something Lucas couldn't ignore. The next morning, Ethan headed straight for the leasing office. But Lucas wasn't there. Out for the day, the receptionist said. Of course. Frustrated, Ethan turned to leave, only to freeze at the sight just outside the window. Lucas stood by the maintenance shed, talking with Pierre. Ethan squinted. They weren't just talking. Pierre had a hand on Lucas's shoulder. They were laughing. Close. Too close. Ethan's stomach dropped. Seriously? It hadn't even been a week since that almost kiss in the bathroom. And now Lucas was cozying up with the maintenance guy who supposedly found the pills. Rage burned hot in Ethan's chest. He marched back to his apartment, determined to fix this mess alone. Hours passed. Ethan gathered what he could, scanned documents, took pictures, even printed out old text messages with Carson. It wasn't airtight, but it told a story. Then, just as he was prepping for a job interview, his phone buzzed again. Lucas, are you home? I need to talk. Ethan hesitated. His heart said yes. His pride screamed no. He opened the door anyway. Lucas stood there, holding a manila folder. I was wrong, Lucas said without waiting for a greeting. About everything. Ethan crossed his arms. So you finally believe me? Lucas stepped inside, laying the folder on the counter. I talked to Pierre again. He told me something about Carson. Said he used to let himself into units. Yours especially. Claimed he was checking for leaks, even when nobody requested anything. Ethan's eyes narrowed. And you just believed him? Lucas held up a USB drive. Pierre had camera footage from the basement access hallway. It shows Carson leaving your unit, with something in his hand. A bottle. Same one I found. Ethan stared. You're serious. I should have trusted you, Lucas said, voice low. I let my doubt get in the way. Again, silence fell. Ethan looked away, jaw clenched. You're still mad, Lucas added. Ethan gave a dry laugh. You think? Lucas stepped closer. Look, I can't erase what I did back then. Or now. But I'm not the same kid who tormented you. I'm not hiding behind cruelty anymore. I'm standing in front of it, trying to fix what I broke. Ethan's heart thudded in his chest. Lucas continued, voice gentler. I don't want to lose you again. There it was. Ethan didn't respond right away. His walls were still up. Still cracked and heavy. But something inside him softened. Because beneath the sharp suits and strong jawline, Lucas was human. And for once, vulnerable. You want to fix this? Ethan asked quietly. Then help me clear my name. Publicly. Officially. Lucas nodded. Already started. Carson's being investigated again. Police are involved. I gave them the footage and filed a report. Ethan blinked. Seriously? I don't mess around when it comes to you. And just like that, Ethan's defenses cracked. The following days moved like a blur. Ethan kept expecting something to go wrong. Some twist of fate to yank away the fragile hope he and Lucas had started rebuilding. But the police followed up on the footage. Carson was arrested again, this time without any chance of slipping away, and Ethan's name was officially cleared. Lucas kept his promise. He didn't just help clear Ethan's record. He stood beside him the whole way, through meetings, paperwork, phone calls. He never missed a step. And Ethan noticed. The change wasn't just words anymore. It was in the way Lucas brought him coffee during long afternoons at the leasing office. The way he double-checked every maintenance request in Ethan's unit personally. Even when it was something as minor as a squeaky cabinet. The way he listened now. Really listened. With no interruptions. No dismissive smirks. Just understanding. And when he smiled, really smiled, it wasn't smug or arrogant. It was warm, gentle, real. One evening, Lucas showed up with takeout and a bottle of Ethan's favorite wine. They sat on the couch, watching an old movie, the silence between them more comfortable than ever. I got an offer, Lucas said suddenly, setting down his glass, to run a new property development in California. Ethan's heart skipped. Oh, he tried to sound neutral. But his voice cracked just enough to betray him. Lucas looked at him carefully. I'm going. End of the month. A pause. But I don't want to go alone. Ethan blinked. What are you saying? I want you to come with me. Be my assistant. Help me run the property. Start fresh. New place. New job. New chapter. Ethan stared at him, stunned. Lucas, are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. Lucas said, you've seen the worst of me, and somehow you still see me. You believe in who I can be. I want to build something with you. Not just a job, a life. Ethan's throat tightened. No one had ever said something like that to him before. Not and meant it. He looked down, then back up. What if I say yes? And everything falls apart? Lucas leaned in, took his hand. Then we rebuild. Together. Tears prickled at the corners of Ethan's eyes. He let out a shaky laugh. God, you used to throw spitballs at me in the cafeteria. Lucas smiled. Now I just want to make you pancakes in the morning. Ethan laughed harder, wiping his eyes. That's the cheesiest thing I've ever heard. Yeah, but you loved it. I did, Ethan admitted, softly. And I do. Lucas leaned in, brushing a gentle kiss against Ethan's lips. It wasn't rushed, or desperate. It was patient, tender, like someone who wasn't just asking for forgiveness, but offering forever. They moved to California 3 weeks later. The apartment was small, but the view was incredible. Ethan helped manage the building. And within a year, he landed a new job in property marketing. Lucas thrived in his new role, and every night, they came home to each other. 1 year later, on a quiet beach walk, Lucas got down on one knee with a simple silver band. I never thought I'd be this lucky, he said, but I want to be the man who makes you believe that every bad chapter was leading here. Ethan didn't hesitate. Yes, they kissed under the fading sun, waves lapping at their feet. Because sometimes, the person who broke you is the one who comes back, not to hurt you again, but to help you heal. Life lessons from a wounded heart. As we grow older, life has a way of showing us that change is not only possible, but necessary. In the story of Ethan and Lucas, we're reminded that people are not defined by who they were in high school, or even by their worst mistakes. People can change, grow, and become better, not just for themselves, but for the ones they've hurt. One of the most powerful messages in this story is the value of second chances. For many of us, The idea of reconnecting with someone who once hurt us feels unthinkable. But life is long, and hearts can heal. Sometimes, when the past returns, it does so not to haunt us, but to help us heal old wounds and write a better ending. Ethan's journey also speaks to the strength of self-worth. He refused to let himself be used or manipulated, even when he felt alone and vulnerable. That kind of quiet strength, the ability to stand up for oneself while still leaving space for forgiveness, is something many of us learn later in life, often the hard way. Lucas, on the other hand, is a reminder that redemption is real. It takes courage to admit you've been wrong, to face the damage you've done, and to make it right. His transformation from bully to protector reflects the power of growth when it's fueled by genuine remorse and love. And finally, the story speaks to a universal truth: love, at its best, is not perfect, it's patient, honest, and willing to start again. No matter our age, we all long to be seen, heard, and loved for who we are, flaws and all.